Suppledores, we're doing a little fiber work here. Not even seeing the fiber, you're seeing the light reflected off of it. It's a 9 micron fiber. Much smaller than a human hair. Two strips. This isn't really recommended practice, but that one's hot. I have my light source in that one, just to save me going back up one flight of stairs to test this guy at the end. Probably not industry recommended practice, but I suppose as long as you're not staring right into it, there's no problem doing it hot. It's actually kind of cool. You can see it glow. You can see that. My laser upstairs. Okay, a couple more to strip out here. Not really going in any particular color order. There's my slate. You don't necessarily have to try to strip that much in one fell swoop. That's about 14 millimeters right there. You know, you need some skill set to do that. Finishing up with my brown. I'm having really good luck with these ideal mini light strippers, regardless whether it's single or multi, 50 micron, 62, 9. They seem to really be working very well for me. Alright, so I got all my fibers stripped out. Now I'll set up my little jig. Try to move my phone a little so if you guys can see me here. There we go. Not bad for a homemade little video on the job training here for you folks. So there's my jig. There's my Unicam LC connector. I've already taken the boot off. I'm right-handed. I prefer to use my jig this way. You're always starting it with that pointing towards the ceiling. Load my connector in there. Okay. So we'll go in order. Here's my hot glue. handy dandy cleaver. Pretty standard with the Corning Unicams to cleave to 8.5 millimeters. Always check the package, but this particular one is 8.5. Skip the stuff there. If you guys don't have a fancy factory-made collection bin, although there are such a product on the market, you can just take a little bit of tape, put that on your work surface there, and that will serve to pick up your cut fibers. The danger in doing fiber is that you get one of those fibers stuck in your throat or in your eyeball, and then you will not be having a pleasant day. They're really, really small, the fiber, end up going to the emergency room. That's no fun. There's our cleave fiber right there, putting it right on the tape for safekeeping. And I usually tap it with the end of my cleaver just to make sure it's stuck on the tape. So that's it. There's my fiber. I have an insertion mark. I'm going to insert it into the jig to the insertion mark. Okay. Now, one nice thing about doing this hot is when I bury my fiber in the jig, when I first put it in, I'm going to have a lot of LED radiation leaking out. When my fiber is tuned correctly, I will have almost no radiation coming out. So it's actually kind of neat to do it that way. Panduit actually makes a kit, as does Corning, that you have a little light source and you can tune that connector and get it perfect. So here we go. We're going to cam it. As soon as I cam it, you'll notice I'm getting all the radiation out the tip of that connector. I happen to have a boot on it, a dust cap on it rather, but I think you guys can still see I'm getting a lot of radiation, so that's good. That's what I want. Then I'm going to finish my connector there, give it a little tug, release my pressure, depress the clip. That's trash. Okay. Do our orange next. And again, my scrap, which is really hard to see, goes right on that piece of tape. I tamp it down. I know it's not getting stuck somewhere it shouldn't. There's my connector. Take off the dust cap. Load it in the jig. Always have to be in that up position. You want the date code. Every connector has a, you're not going to be able to see it. Right there, there's a date code. You want that pointing up at the ceiling. So there, I'm going to insert my fiber. I'm going to bury it all the way to my insertion point, at which point it will stop. You ain't getting it any further. Cam it. Crimp it. Horsepower in there. Release it. Take off your purple fitting. It's trash. Go to my green. Okay. Same thing. Cleave to 8.5 millimeter. I apologize if you guys find this video boring. There's really no way to make this exciting. As a coworker of mine once told me, it is a horribly monotonous business. If you are successful, you end up doing the same thing over and over and over again. You know, right now, today, we're only doing a 6-count fiber. You know, you can imagine if you were doing 192 or a 48 or something like that. I mean, pack a lunch, you're going to be here for a while. purple. That's trash. Waste fiber, tamp, my connector, open my jag, load my connector, bury it to my mark. This little doohickey here takes the tension off. The crimp is actually, there's metal, it actually crimps itself to the jacket. The 900 micron jacket provides a somewhat secure connection. We'll show you what keeps the rest of it secure in a minute. Got two more to do. There's our white. As long as you keep your work surface clean and you're not actually touching the very end of the fiber, you don't have to be so ickety-pickety about the dust. I mean, yes, of course, you have to keep this stuff dust-free, but when you cleave that fiber, you're breaking glass. So, in theory, that is perfectly clean at the end. Before we started, I actually went and got some paper towels and I cleaned off my work surface and tried to get it relatively dust-free. Again, you know, these connectors are designed to work in a variety of environments. They know they're not going to be used in a lab-type environment. These connectors are very good for real-world environments. There we go. One more to do. It probably really is easier to load the jig with both hands free instead of the way I've been doing it with a fiber in my hand. So you'll get your own little system down. There's my slate. Bare fiber, tamp it down. Going to take the belly, get the tension out, cam, crimp, good. And again, the purple is purely a carrier. Okay, now I have my completed connectors. I don't know if you can see this here, guys. I have the rest of my assembly here, which is basically boots, which is a critical part, and a strain relief, which is not so critical. You can use it or not use it. I do recommend using it, but the boot is critical. You'll see why in a minute. Not the greatest video. I'm putting my hand in the way of the camera here, but doing the best I can. Okay, so now I have my connectors, and I have all my associated hardware, and I can pull it down towards me. A little shake there. I'll show you guys what's going on in this stuff. Okay, so there's the Unicam connector. On each side, there's a very small latch. And this connector just simply Strain relief just simply latches on, almost no pressure required. Now the critical part here is this boot is going to provide protection so your fiber doesn't break. Typically when I go to repair these in the field, the break is right there, because somebody didn't use the strain relief. Okay, and that is your completed connector right there. Let's do the blue one so you can actually see some light coming through. So here's the blue one. I'm going to orient it properly. I have my latches. Click. Take my strain relief very gently. Work it on. Here's my dust cap. Take off my dust cap. There's my light. Actually getting very good light, which is good. That's what we want. Okay. White. So that's it. Those are my completed connectors right there. And I'll take the rest of this tape off so you kind of see, you know, show a good technician is one that hasn't bungled the stripping too much. When you strip these initially, you know, throughout this tape, making a little tape ball here with my waste fibers. Put that right in my trash box. You know, there's nothing wrong with it technically. You could have one of these at a little bit of a different length, but you'll notice I did not bungle any of mine. They're all almost exactly within a couple of millimeters the same length. So, there you go. Here's my wall mount housing. I'm going to lace my connectors into that housing. Actually, before I do that, on my coupler panel, let's install this first. So the coupler panel is just simply that, a coupler panel. It's going to couple my building fiber to my launch cord to go to my equipment. I'm going to remove the dust caps in the back. There's number one. So my one upper left will always be blue. Take off the dust cap. There's my blue. Blue. There's my orange. Green. Brown. White. And slate. There's my coupler panel. I'm going to mount the coupler panel in my housing. I'm going to show you guys what that looks like. Ideally, I would have had a cameraman changing angles, but we don't have that luxury today. So that's it. It just snaps in right there. it actually completes the box. And there's my hot glue right there. Now I'm going to dress that cable in. Make it look nice and neat. Might be easier to take that out. Yeah, definitely easier to take that out. A little more room for my fat fingers. Okay, my completed box. That's it. This piece of rubber is just a entry, dust cap. Got one up top here, so